Fight Talk UK, Pro Beez once again. Remember, subscribe. And I'm delighted to be joined by the first ever time riding off away from fight camp last week. Mr. Joel Gallagher, how you doing?
Yes, not too bad. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I thought I'd try and bridge the gap between London and the Northwest, you know?
No problem, mate. No problem. Like I say, boxing's on a good roll at the moment. Like I say, after spending the week down in Barry Hearn's back garden and being in the bubble, it's good to get back up north and get a bit of the sunshine. Been a lovely day today, and it's just a shame we didn't come back up the motorway with that green and gold belt. But we'll return to that and finish it off next time we get it.
Definitely. I think everyone's in agreement. Fight camp so far has been a success. I mean, prior to the whole fight camp starting, you know, Eddie Hearn talked about 50-50 fights. He talked about exciting fights, and it's delivered. And one fight that did deliver was Natasha Jonas and Terry Harper. Reflecting, have you had a chance to watch back the fight and score it?
No, I haven't yet.
No?
No,
Okay.
I haven't. It's not something that I do. I always wait. Callum Smith, I didn't watch him and Ryder till March. Quigg Frampton, I didn't watch for 3 or 4 months. Crawler, this is an immediate rematch. I like the dust to settle. I like to hear everyone's opinions, and then I'll sit down with no commentary and analyse it and watch it. And usually, what I thought on the night is usually what generally happens. So I will do, but it's interesting to hear what everyone has to say and read and take on board everyone's opinions. But I did think Natasha Jonas won the fight. I think she won it 6 rounds to 4. I can most probably see 6-3 and 1 even maybe. But I can't see how Terry Harper won 6 rounds at that 10-round contest, as one of the scorecards said. The big thing for us going into it, I think there was just a smack of total disrespect to Natasha Jonas. We were talking about a lady here who has been on the amateur scene, boxed more than 75 times for England all around the world. She medalled twice at the Europeans, medalled at the Worlds, was the first woman to qualify for Britain at the Olympics, and she had one of the standout events at the Olympics 2012 with her, Katie Taylor. And to have written her off so easy, and Sky Bet had her 100-1 to win any round. This is an Olympian. That means that they gave Liam Smith more chance of beating Canelo at the time. And I just thought Terry Harper is a good world champion. She's 23, she's young, but they're just totally her thing. And I thought to myself, we've got boxing experts who are paid to give an opinion, and they were totally off the mark. The only one that I thought was close to it were 2 people. Boxing News give a very good analyst of the fight and made Natasha a very live underdog. But when you listen to Matthew Macklin saying she was past the best, over the hill, she couldn't learn nothing new, then you hear Darren Barker going on about, she's past it now. Terry Harper is this, and Joe shouldn't be putting pressure on her. Dave Caldwell going on about Terry Harper being the next wave, the next generation of fighters. I'm thinking, wow, Sky pay these, and then none of them have got a clue. The old days, they used to come up to gymnasiums, watch, study, learn, and it just added fuel to the fire, because we knew the camp Natasha had, we knew the sparring partners she had in, and they were going off one bad performance, yet everything that she'd done in the past, they're forgotten about. Yet I've seen them same people trying to big up over the hill heavyweights as serious threats for Anthony Joshua, yet they were writing off their own Olympian Natasha Jonas. So disrespectful. So when I went down last week, and obviously I was snarling and spitting fire, it was like, no, listen, Terry Harper, she only throws 19 punches around. She's been hurt in an IBO fight. She got hurt in a WBC fight. Yous were too busy talking about it and didn't pick up on it. And I'd sat and studied, and what I said we'd do, we'd outwork her, we had the better engine, and we'd chin check her, and we'd try and get the knockout late, and we nearly did all of it. And at the end of it, they were all saying she's 36 and past it and over the hill. who was the fitter, who was the stronger, and who finished the better? Natasha. And Steffi Bull was putting things out on social media saying, oh, she's too old legs, and Terry's this and that. And I think everyone just had a dose of reality last week that you shouldn't write anyone, especially from our stable, lessons learned. Like, you're wrong to go against us. I really went into the fight in the same mindset we had for Callum Smith, George Groves, Callum Johnson, Frank Buglione, and it Crawler with John Murray, that they were written off and there's too much hype talked about the others, and we were there just to make up numbers. So when you turn up to a point to prove, or what people say, the Alex Ferguson siege mentality, that's how it was. And we knew we had a great camp, and Tasha was nice and relaxed. And you look at the end of it, Natasha had the winning mentality, the winning smile. Terry Harper looks a broken woman, physically and mentally, and I doubt she wants any more of Natasha Jonas. Natasha Jonas is 36, and with that comes strong mentality, been through life's hardships, becoming a mum, fighting for a daughter, being a single mum, coming to the gym with a daughter, coming to the running track with a daughter. She's been through tougher life's experience. Her professional career as a footballer ended at age 20 with a horrific leg injury. Her sister Nikita Paris is fantastic at was Man City, Barcelona, Chanel, Leon plays for England. Yeah, so you're talking on an individual and a family. Their other brother, Lee Malloy's in the UFC type of thing. This is a family with good work ethic, with discipline, dedication, talent. Write them off at the peril, and I just thought everyone was too quick to write her off, and I just think it humbled a lot of people at the weekend. And you shouldn't be too quick to write people off. Age is just a number.
But isn't it that old chestnut where, you know, you take a first loss or you have a bad performance and everybody all of a sudden doubts your capabilities? I think, you know, that defeat she suffered a few years ago obviously has clouded people's vision about her abilities as a fighter, which shouldn't happen. But we live in a world where you're only as good as your last performance, as people say.
Yeah.
You know, in football, as your last game. Again, you see Callum Smith. He was tremendous against George Groves, and he wasn't his normal self against, you know, John Ryder. And, you know, I go into the forums. Boxing forums, and I read what the fans have to say. And again, they wrote of Callum Smith as well. You know, it's just the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose.
Yeah, listen, of course it is. And like everything, listen, everyone has an opinion and everyone's entitled to their opinion. But it's when you get people who are paid to give an opinion on a fight that are writing off finger. And in boxing, boxing's an industry that a good fighter doesn't necessarily mean the no boxing business. Does that make sense? I grew up with Phil Martin. He was my mentor. He's like old school, Brendan Ingle, Jimmy Tibbs, Johnny Eames. Do you know what I mean? The Billy Graham, them old school trainers, do you understand? And there's lots of young trainers coming through now, but they don't know the business. A lot of them are just mouthpieces for TV or whatever. Does that make sense? They're too busy. It's just hard to explain. And then when you come down and you say stuff that people don't want to hear, well, I'd rather be truthful and call it how it is. And we put ourselves on the edge, and I said Tasha would win by knockout, and it could have all gone wrong. But you've got to believe in your product, and I believe in my products that I have in the gymnasium, and would love to get the rematch, and we'll just take it from there. It's just, that's how boxing is. And boxing's very much like football. Klopp's brilliant at the moment. Mourinho was brilliant at Chelsea, wherever. As soon as they lose, they're gone. Do you know what I mean? That's it. When they start losing, it's not about, like when I had Manchester United, it wasn't about us doing well and then he's scoring, Lukaku scoring and Rooney scoring. It's all about the players when they lose. It's the manager. Boxing's no different. The fighter's winning. They're going, the fighter's brilliant. Everything else. As soon as they lose, the trainer's shit needs to change trainers and the pundits quit to jump in, and that's part of territory. And I read in a book not long ago, if you want to be if you want to be liked in a sport, you can't be a coach. You just can't be a coach. If you're a coach, well, you're not to be liked. You can't be liked and be a coach. That's it. That's what you got to do, because there's things that you got to do for your fighter and for yourself, and it doesn't mean that it suits everybody in the same way. Me and Eddie Hearn, we can get on 99 times, but I'm sure them 99 times will suit him. But the one time it doesn't, I'm the biggest get going. Do you understand? Because it hasn't felt his side. Does that make sense? So that one disagreement shouldn't upset, because the balance usually goes 99% Eddie Hearn's way. But the one time then when you say, hang on a minute, that's not right, we should do this and this, then you're like the biggest arsehole in the world. Do you know what I mean? But you've got to stand by your fighter and your beliefs. And there's plenty of yes men in the sport, but that the fighters aren't getting looked after them.
Hey, this is why I love Joe Gallagher, man. You just say it, man, how it is, man.
Listen, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Mick Hennessy, they're great, they're doing stuff, they're in difficult times, they're trying to push forward. Frank with BT, Mick with Channel 5, Eddie and Barry doing what they're doing in Garden. It's brilliant. Well, like you say, it's really good. I got loads of stick last week for coming down late. Everyone was quick to voice their opinion, but no one picked up the phone and said, why are you down late? We told Matchroom the week before we were down late. A part of Liverpool was in lockdown. Natasha Jonas's minder that was to have the daughter was in lockdown. So Natasha couldn't put a daughter with her, otherwise she'd be there for 2 weeks. So she had to source another childminder to look after the daughter while she had to fight. But then they threw it on me, being mind games, and it's like, no, speak to Natasha. And once Natasha said, hang on a minute, I'm a working single mum here, and I'm getting childminding, I've got childminding issues, everyone backed off, but they're too quick to jump in. So we're playing mind games. We're not playing mind games. I told you last week, she's having difficulty. We'll do our board check weight up here in Manchester on the Tuesday. We'll do our training session Monday, and we'll be down there Tuesday afternoon. But they chose to just try and make something of it. And obviously, you become the bad guy, but they were the reasons for it anyway. There's no mind games. It was what was best for Natasha Jonas. She was a working mum, and she had to get the care for her daughter.
What has Eddie Hearn said about a guarantee of this rematch? Because the fans are dying for it. I think the way that Natasha performed deserved it. It kind of needs to be penciled in quite quickly. Otherwise, just the boat might just sail.
Yeah, I think Terry Harper as a mandatory, Katrina Thanderez. Eddie said he was going to try and get it straight away. Natasha's management company, MTK, they're on it straight away. We did a WBC convention call last night, me, the Smith brothers and Natasha. And Maurizio said they were reviewing it. He heard it was a great fight, and he'd love to see them two again. Hopefully, if AJ fights in December, most probably maybe chief support to that are on the bill. But Eddie said he'd love to do that show on its own because it was worthy of it. I think the talent that was on the display, the skill set was a great advert for boxing, not just female boxing, but for boxing. And it attracted lots more viewers, and everyone came away hugely impressed with it. And well, hopefully we'll get that done before Christmas. Please God.
You know what? Because of that fight, I'm looking forward now even more to Shannon Courtney versus Rachel Ball. It's amazing.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight.
Because she took Thunderers all away.
Yes, that's a very good fight. I know both of them have seen him, and Shannon Courtney best not be sleeping on her because this is a really live opponent, and could be an upset here. Like I say, she's learning well. She's in the Booth camp. She's learning the Booth style of fighting, the explosiveness, the mobility, the rotation, and this is going to be another good fight. And like you say, it's delivered up to now. Fight camp, Cheeseman, Eggington, obviously Natasha at the weekend. Also, Chris Bill and Smith put a good performance in, and then this weekend, like you say, you have Wellborn Cash and another female bout, and then after that, then we have Katie Taylor and the rematch with Delphine Passoon. So it's exciting times for women boxing.
Joe, I need to ask you, have you heard, as your phone rang, has Oscar De La Hoya been on the phone for Callum?
The Callum Smith Canelo situation, where we are at the moment, Eddie Reynoso, Canelo have picked Callum Smith as the opponent. The Zone have agreed that they'll do Callum Smith as the opponent. So there was a date, September the 12th. I think Roy Jones and Mike Tyson had it. but that's been pushed back now. So from listening from everybody that comes, listen, me and Callum wake up and we'll see a Mexican report on ESPN Mexico, ESPN Knockout, an interview with Eddie Reynoso. And we're like everyone else. We're finding out by social media. Mad, isn't it, when you're involved? And then we're waking up and then phoning Eddie and what they said. And he's just waking up going, I'll check my emails. And so that's where we are at the moment, from what I believe, that they've selected Callum and that they're negotiating and waiting on a date. So if the Zone and Canelo and Eddie Reynoso have selected Callum Smith, then hopefully, I'd say we're at the amber light stage. And whether we go to green or back to red now will be dependent over the next few weeks.
You know, it's interesting because, again, browsing through the boxing forums, you know, a lot of the fans talking about this potential matchup. They mentioned, obviously, Callum Smith is a tall, rangy fighter, you know, of the highest order. And there were some comparisons made with the Kovalev fight against Canelo. You know, Callum's got a fantastic jab. And a lot of people have analysed the fact that Kovalev, up until he gassed out, was executing the jab quite well.
Yeah.
Can you kind of see a similarity that might play out in that fight? But obviously, Callum Smith, you know, maintaining that fitness throughout the 12 rounds.
Yeah, I think the vibe in the gym at the moment is bouncing, obviously, off the back of Tasha's performance. And you got to look at Canelo does well against tall fighters. Kovalev, obviously, they were sparring partners in the past. I think Canelo was very aware of Kovalev's power that he has in his jab. Everyone that fights Kovalev says his jab absolutely is. You've seen what he did to Nathan Cleverly. You've seen then what Canelo did to Rocky Fielding. I think we have to get Canelo's respect early. Callum, such a tall fighter, has got a very good inside game. Can exchange well, good body shots, good short shots. And we've got to make Canelo think twice about coming on. And I think Canelo knew Kovalev had just fought. He knew he'd gas later on, and that's why he was patient. Also, with the respect that Kovalev could whack, he couldn't be reckless. So he waited and patient. He did that. Now, with Callum Smith, like you say, he's got a tall range fighter that's got a good jab, cracking straight right hand, hits to the body well, has a good defense up close. So I do feel, and listen, I love Canelo. I think Canelo's a great fighter, regardless of what's gone on with Mexican beef. He's in the gym training. He's like a Hopkins. He's like a Mayweather. Where he's got a date or not, he's in the gym. There's videos going out, smashing pads, smashing body belts. He lives and breathes it. And he's a great example for fighters where in this era, especially this side of the Atlantic, this mentality of, I'm not coming in the gym till I get a date, is ruining fighters, because you have to be in the gym. If you're fighting twice a year, 3 times a year, that's 30 weeks you're training, 10 weeks camp. What are you doing for the 22? How can you learn? So when they are training and prospects coming through, they've trained, they have a week off, they're back in. So they have like 4 or 5 weeks off a year. Yet now they're fighting at the highest stage and the biggest stage. They're on 22 weeks of the year, and then they wonder then why the tools are blunt and they're not going on. You look at all the great fighters. Barry McGuigan was fighting regular and often. Even Barry was. Ray Robinson, all that in heavier weight categories, everything else. And I just think you have to be in the gym. You have to keep your tools sharp. And then I've been very fortunate to work with kids like Scott Quigg, Anthony Crolla, who are as bad as lunatics as me, that their obsession was as bad as mine, and that they stayed in the gym and they got the just rewards. Callum Smith's the same. He's in the gym because you have to be, because you look at the other champions, Canelo's, Keller Plant, Benavidez, they're all in the gym, and that's how you've got to be. And we've got to get Canelo's respect early on. When you listen to Sugar Ray Leonard, he spent a whole year training to beat Marvin Hagler. A year. He didn't just sign a fight and go, right, I'm doing a 10 weeks training camp. He analysed psychologically, mentally, physically, tactically, everything. A year training. And that's what we've been doing, study, analysing, looking at Canelo, different fights, different opponents. And that's what you've got to do. You can't just wait on a day. Callum's in the gym, he's training, we're working on different things. And please, God, we get the golden ticket, because I'm usually confident Callum Smith beats Canelo. We've been up against him with Liam Smith. and he's a very good fighter. He does things until you've been up against him and been ringside. That's so simple but so effective. Little head movements, not big head movements, but just little ones just to pull out, just slips aside, just rolls shots, block shots. Very, very good. He uses defence very good. He's a class act watching him. If you love your boxing, watching Canelo, and you get the casuals watching Canelo and Triple G, and they just see two fighters at it. But the technique and the volume of shots and the replies and the counter punching in 2, 3, 4 phases of attacks and defence, it's just a joy to watch, and that's what we've got to learn on and make sure we're that equipped to go in there and beat him.
Joe, we talked about Natasha Jonas and Terry Harper, right? The draw. With Canelo, right? I think you know where I'm going now. In your mind, are you saying to yourself, hold on, it cannot be a draw. We cannot take it to the judges against Canelo. We have to be decisive. And we need to TKO or KO.
Yeah.
Are you seeing things like that? Because, you know,
yeah, no,
against Canelo, yeah.
Well, with Natasha, I said to her, listen, Tash, she's the champion. You're here. You're in Eddie's back garden. You're 2 down. You'll get out and win the first 2 rounds to level the fight. And she did. Canelo will most probably be 3 down before we even start. But what I want Callum to be, although it was tainted because of the hand wraps issues, I want him to be like a Margarita did to Cotto. Walking him down, pushing him down, making him work every second, every round, and him absolutely nowhere else to run, and just I'm going to surrender with the volume of punches and the beatdown.
Interesting. Just to conclude, Joe, now we had, I think a few months ago, at the start of lockdown, we had the whole talk about Joshua Buatsi and Callum Smith. Sorry, Callum Johnson. I always get the Callums mixed up. Right. Great fight, potentially. I mean, look, we've got to be honest with ourselves. We might have to have domestic dust-ups for a little while, right?
100%.
It's a great fight. And I was saying to Joshua Buatsi, because I saw him maybe 2-3 weeks ago in his gym, and he's staying ready. I said to him, this fight against Callum Johnson, for yourself, that is your acid test. That is going to show where you're at right now. We know you're the fantastic talent, but I know Callum Johnson is a dangerous guy. He's dangerous.
Yeah, Callum Johnson, listen, he's the main man in this country at the light heavyweight division. He's beat everyone before him. He went in with Beez, got done with a cheap shot round 1 in the back of the head, come back, dropped him, froze instead of finishing the job, and then got caught on the way back in. He's mad for the rematch. He took the Bivol fight earlier last year. This year didn't materialise. He wants to beat Beez, said he'd fight Joe Smith, come back, beat Sean Monaghan, and that's it. And there's many a times Eddie has said, oh, Buatsi, and we went, yeah, okay then, come on, we'll do it. And then, like, we don't hear anything. Oh, they need a... Now, you got to remember, Callum Johnson's not fought since February last year. That's nearly 18 months ago. That's 18 months ago in Sean Monaghan. And now they're saying... So I said to her, we'll do that in the garden now. Come on, Callum Johnson, Buatsi. But then he's saying, oh, Buatsi needs a warm-up type of thing. Warm-up? He fought in August, September last year. We didn't fight till February. If he's having a warm-up, we're having a warm-up. So you can't say Buatsi can have a warm-up with Callum Johnson thrown back in. Now, when Callum Johnson fought Buglione, they all thought Frank was going to murder him because Callum Johnson had fought for 18 months. But Callum Johnson, if you looked at lockdown, he's doing stuff for charities, flipping tyres, cycle rides, he's training in a gym. He's demonic, he's old school. He can whack. 100% he can whack. And I have no fear, no hesitation in putting Callum Johnson with Josh Buatsi whatsoever. But I do think Robert McCracken doesn't want Buatsi to have that fight yet. They want another 1 or 2 fights before they entertain Callum Johnson, because Rob knows Callum Johnson can whack, and anyone that can put Beez on the floor is well capable of putting Josh Buatsi on the floor. And I love Josh Buatsi, like his attitude, like his mannerisms. He's a really good kid, nice and polite. very much like CJ, they're two nice kids outside of the ring. Huge respect for everybody, but in the ring, they're a pair of savages, and that's a fight would Lee have. But in the meantime, now Callum Johnson has supposed to have this European title fight. I think a really good fight for Joshua Buatsi. In the meantime, is a showdown with Anthony Yarde. I think that's a huge fight in London. The winner of that, the profile, bragging rights, puts themselves right up there. We're trying to get Callum Johnson another world title shot. Callum Johnson wins the world title and he defends against the winner of them two. That's the way I see things. And then it's even a bigger fight, because the money both them boys had won, they can't get paid that for British or European level. It'd have to be for a world title. That's what they'd be deserving of. So it's up to one of them to go and get the world title. And I think at the moment, Callum Johnson's the more equipped out of the two, having been in their BTBF, to go and do that against one of the other champions.
You mentioned potentially Anthony Yarde against Joshua Buatsi. Just to conclude, that will be dependent on the two top promoters in Britain working together. I mean, a week ago, the internet was on fire about Eddie and Frank Warren working together. Can you see it? Can it happen? Can we do this for the good of British boxing?
Yeah, I think especially that fight. There was a list there, but there's a few that could be done well. I think Buatsi Yarde, that's a massive fight. Both fighters, Anthony's fought, Kovalev had experience, Josh coming out. But we've seen when we did, was it Lawrence Okoli and Chamberlain, London Beef, they called it.
British Beef, yeah.
Yeah, British Beef. And then there was Dylan White, Derek Chisora. When you get two good London kids at it, that brings everybody out. And I think whether Eddie puts it on first and it goes on Sky, and then a rematch if it's close or points, then Frank has it on his side, or there's delayed showing. But I do generally think that fight can happen. I think the fans would love to see it. I think it's a great fight in London. I think a lot of people are tuning in with that. And with that fight, it raised the profile of both of them. That would then put them in the world title picture. Obviously, having Anthony Yarde just fight Kovalev and put up a great challenge, and it was in seconds of getting the win. That's a great fight. And I think people would back it. I think TV would back it, and I think sponsors would back it to bring the money in as well. I think that's them fights years ago that we had when it was Michael Watson, Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank. That fight between them two, you can put into that type of rivalry bracket. Them two could fight 2-3 good fights against each other and make lots of money.
I kind of feel like, okay, the UFC, all their fighters are under one banner, but I kind of feel if the two top promoters work together, then there's lots of dust-ups that we can just do in Britain. You know, we can have a real, British extravaganza that could go on for a while. You know,
of course, definitely. Listen, in the end, they managed to make Lennox and Mike Tyson, Mayweather, Pacquiao, and they were obscene fights, obscene money. Now, if everyone could get to the head to do that, surely Frank and Eddie can get together to make Josh Buatsi, Anthony Yarde.
100%. Joe, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully,
no problem. Thank you for having me on.
Hopefully, Arsenal will make some signings to catch up with Man United, and we'll take your Champions League spot.
Hey, you sold us the dummy in Sanchez, didn't you? Jesus, we fell for that one.
That's what you got to do, mate. When they're just on the way out, mate. That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Pleasure. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.